All right, everybody, welcome back to the Diamond Roundup. It's Sunday. It's 7 o'clock, so that means we are going to be covering all the best baseball, all the best softball, all right here on your sports network. My name is Sam Torres, here with Anthony Hartwig, and a little bit of a different show today, as we're not going to have power rankings, and we are not going to have a starting nine, because as playoffs come, teams begin to drop off. So when you've only got about 9 teams to choose from, kind of hard to go from that. Other than that, how are you holding up over there today, Anthony?
The starting 9 gets kind of predictable when there's only 9 teams left, you know. But yeah, I know this is great. This is like the favorite time of the year. It might look a little different on this show, but hey, we don't have power rankings, but what we do have are sectional champions in baseball, district champions in softball. So a lot of these teams kind of put away the regular season and took their accolades, took to winning the power rankings, took winning their conferences, and they put them in the bag, and they said, hey, let's go win in the tournament now. And we have 4 district champions in softball, and hopefully we'll get a couple of more here in baseball this week as well.
Yeah, baseball gets off and running last week with the sectional games going. Some of the teams ended their season a little bit earlier than they wanted to. I think what was interesting, though, was on both baseball and softball, you still had teams who had gotten knocked out of the tournament playing regular season games because, believe it or not, folks, even though we're trying to figure out who the next state champion in softball is going to be, there's still one very big game that's up in the air.
There is, and it was supposed to be yesterday, and then Mother Nature just said, hey, we're going to wait a little bit longer, as it rained all morning, and they were like, hey, you know what? We're talking about Canfield versus Fitch, for those of you that are somehow living under a rock and don't know, which is still tied up at 3 in the top of the 10th inning. Still, longest softball game in history. But yeah, it was supposed to be yesterday. It was supposed to be yesterday at 11. Then Friday night, they moved it to Saturday at 4 because they knew rain was coming in the morning, and then they wanted to see how much rain they got, and they decided that they got too much rain for that Canfield field, which is redundant, but okay. And then they decided, hey, you know what? Let's just let the field dry. We'll move it back to Monday. So now I hesitate while saying this because it's been pulled under the rug so many times. But we should get Canfield versus Fitch on Monday at 4:30 in Canfield. I have talked to Coach Ward, and the game plan is to play the game that is, the Canfield's home game first. Get the 7-inning game out of the way. Let's get a winner there, and then decide what to do with the continuation after that. Because both teams have regional games on Wednesday, and obviously both teams are kind of don't want to waste their arms or gas their arms on a regular season game, so they're going to play the normal home game starting back at the first inning for Canfield versus Fitch. And then afterwards, there's going to be kind of a powwow decision made about what they want to do with that game that is still tied in the top of the 10th.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that game is going to determine who wins that conference.
It really does. So basically, the team that wins won't want to play that second game, and the team that does will want to play that second game because they want a chance to win that second one and split and, earn a share of the AAC. But whoever wins that first game on Monday is going to be like, let's do it. We're done. No more. And then whoever loses is going to be really fighting for that second game the first game, I should say. It was the first scheduled game to be finished, tied up at 3 in the 10th.
Well, yeah, it really brings into the argument here of, these both of these teams and their regional games that they're getting ready to play. You know what I mean? The division is great, but that state championship may trump anything else that's going on.
I think they both want to play each other because they realize how good the team across from them is and how much that's going to prepare them for the tournament games that they're coming up. I think Steve Ward said it after the Fitch and Canfield game got paused. This is a state championship atmosphere. Both pitchers were electric. Melina Toth struck out 20. Sydney Watts struck out 17. It tests both teams really, really well. So I think that's why they want to get one game in, but they also are not going to sacrifice their arms for the conference championship. I think that's been made pretty clear. So they're gonna play one game, but that second one, they haven't said it's canceled. They haven't said they're not gonna do it, but it's still kind of up in the air on what they want to do with it, because of course they don't want to go and play 13, 14 innings of softball, which you could if you play 7 and then you come back and finish a game that's still tied. You don't want to do that and then have to play 2 days later for a regional championship when your opponent has all the rest in the world because they don't have any games left to play.
Yeah, you're talking about, I mean, I guess there might be a different conversation, maybe even a different argument if you're talking a sectional game, because both of these teams, high seeds, they're going to go against teams that maybe didn't have as good a record as they are. But when you get to this point of the tournament, every game you can go home from every game anyway, but these are high level softball teams. So it's like, do you gas yourself for an AAC title? I don't know.
No, I don't think you. Well, I think the most smart thing to do would just be whoever wins this normal game that we're starting from the jump. Whoever wins that just wins the conference, and we just say the other game was a tie or whatever we want to say it was. I know American sports fans hate that word. It bothers me because everyone wants to see someone win that game that went to 10 innings. But unfortunately, they got called because of darkness, and they just never found a good spot to return to that game before tournament started. And now you're in that decision where you're not going to gas your pitchers for a consolation prize.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm one of those American fans. To me, a tie is like when you have to sneeze and somebody says "bless you" before you do it, and then you can't sneeze, so now it lives in your head for the rest of the day. That's kind of how a tie feels to me. But in this case, again, you're talking about some hardware. You're talking about some big time play. Both of these teams have, I think, equal chance to get to that big one and play that big one. So yeah, there's going to be some decisions that are going to be made, and I can promise you, not everybody's going to be happy no matter what the decision is.
I'm going to play devil's advocate and just say the other side real quick, because obviously softball is a lot different than baseball. You can pitch a lot more. These girls pitch 5 games a day in travel softball sometimes, especially in bracket play Sunday. So, the team that wants to continue that game, if they lose the first, are going to say, you know what? This is softball. We pitch doubleheaders all the time. Let's go out there and finish this game. We still have a day off. No one is going to be not fresh for the regional, especially when you're talking about pitchers. So that's what the other side would be saying. Softball pitchers are really used to pitching a lot of innings in one day and then having to come back even the next day and pitch again. It wasn't too long ago where even in college softball, it was pretty much we have one pitcher and we're going to ride her all the way to a national championship. Now in college softball, you see everyone have a staff of 3 or 4. But, it wasn't too long ago when we had no worries at all about a pitcher's arm in softball. So obviously the devil's advocate in me says, hey, no one's worried about pitcher's arms really. It's kind of a soft excuse to not go and play 2 games. That's what the other side is going to say, obviously. I'm kind of leaning towards the other one. I don't want to take any extra chances than I have to. I would be more than happy to say, whoever wins this first game, you get the championship, and let's just go and wish each other luck in regionals. And if I lose that game, hey, it's going to teach me something, and I'm going to go win a state championship because of it. If I win that game, it's a feather in the cap. I just beat a really, really good softball team, and now I can add a conference championship to my trophy case. But either way of the coin you drop, I think it's a win for both teams. Like, honestly, if you lose, like I said, if you lose that game and you handle it right, oh my gosh, you just played one of the best pitchers in the state, and you're going to go into a regional. There's nothing that your pitchers that you're going to see there are going to do that Sydney Watts or Melina Toth doesn't. So I think it's a win-win for both teams. I think they're going to have fun on Monday, and I would say, unless things get crazy, just leave it at the one game. Let's not mess around. I don't want to see anyone gassed or hurt or, God forbid, anything like that. So I just say let's get through the 7 innings we have to get through. Let's crown a conference champion. Everyone wants to see this matchup. Let's give the people what they want. One game decides it all, and let's just move on to regionals after that.
All right, so let me give you a situation here. Tell me how you're going to go about this one. So both teams, they play that first game. Let's say Let's say Canfield, for the sake of argument, let's say Canfield wins that first game. I think that ties the top, doesn't it?
That would get, like, as of then, that would give Canfield the AAC lead because the other game didn't finish. So it'd be like Canfield would have no losses and Fitch would have one loss in the conference.
Okay, so Canfield, it does. So then at that point, then it doesn't matter. Fitch or Canfield wins in that one.
Right.
Okay, both teams go on. They play their regional game. It doesn't go the way they want them to go. They get out there. They're done for the season. Do you come back and do you play that last inning? If you decide to not play it after that first game, to decide if it's really a winner or if you're going to have a tie on the conference.
Now, see, I have a problem with playing after the last tournament game. Like, that bugs me. I would not want to play after I lost. Like, the season's over. Let's just cut it off. But I see a lot of teams do it. Like, there were teams that really didn't have stake in a conference championship either. It was just, we have to finish our conference slate. So they went and made up games after they lost in sectionals. And I was thinking, how awkward is that? Like, our season is over. We have to go play somebody else. That just doesn't, for me, it felt really awkward. So personally, I wouldn't do it. Like, if I lost in the regional semis, I'd just be like, you know what, let's just move the travel ball. I don't want to think about that. But, some people like to, give the girls as many opportunities and swings in that jersey as possible. And I'm sure the seniors would love, whoever loses that game, the seniors would love one more chance to beat that other team. And they would probably advocate for going out there and playing one more time against Canfield or Fitch.
I mean, what do they do if this game goes into the long?
I would give it up to the seniors and be like, hey, guys, we can do this. I'm not going to make the choice because I'm a coach. Seniors, you can make the decision. It's your last game in your jersey and your uniform. Do you want to do it? Let's do it.
Well, I mean, what do they do if this one goes long as well, or this one ends up?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, what if this one goes long? Because the last one took 10 innings. I think that's why they're starting it at 4:30. They're like, let's give ourselves an extra half an hour. Let's just back it up a little bit. So now they're thinking probably like, we can probably go 11 innings if we have to with a 4:30 start. But man, like, it could. Both these pitchers are so evenly matched. I'm interested to see what both lineups do to adjust to the other. Especially because you haven't seen that pitcher in a while and you've been through a couple of district rounds. So now it's like you have to gear back up for Sydney Watson, gear back up from Lena Toth. That's going to be interesting. And I think some other teams that are in regionals are trying to find a game this week too, because they don't want to be sitting around for a long time. So I know that there are some other teams that are trying to find just a pickup game that they can go out there and play and see live at bats and see live pitching before they go into regionals.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. I'm telling you. And again, we're hoping that the weather holds up too, because the weather can really make this a wild and wacky week.
It looks good. It looks good right now. Storm Tracker 21 app has a beautiful week ahead of us. So we're being blessed with playoff so far, because last week until Saturday, we had beautiful weather all the way through baseball sectionals and softball districts. And it looks like this week we're going to have another beautiful week for baseball districts and softball regionals. So fingers and toes both crossed, and let's get through it.
I'm
not actually crossing my toes. I can't do that, but fingers are crossed, arms are crossed, anything else.
All right, that's enough, I guess, of the build-up for. We're gonna call it the game. We're gonna call it the game of 2023. That's gonna be the game of 2023. That's what we're gonna build that one up for tomorrow. But there was still a lot of baseball and a lot of softball that was played this week. You can catch all of your scores right on ysnlive.com. You click the scores tab. I'll get it out there eventually. Click that scores tab. That's where you're going to find up-to-date scores. The best information, your sports information, is happening on your sports network. It's right here on YSN Live. So let's just jump right into this one, as we're going to go right back Monday, May 15th, as we get into some playoff baseball. Starting this one off, Steubenville, the Big Red, 11-0 win over Beaver Local. Edgewood able to get a one sectional win over Howland, 9-2 in that one. 10-1 is going to be the East Liverpool Minerva final score. Ursuline goes out there. The Fighting Irish were fighting 11-1 over Painesville Harvey. Revere and Orange is going to end Orange's year. That's 6-4 in favor of Revere. Niles gets a win over West Geauga, 11-3. NDCL and Cheney, that one was not pretty. 20-2 is the end in that one. And Edison goes 6-4 over West Muskingum. That's the first time I've seen that team's name on here. So it looks like they're a tornado or something.
Edison, and even Beaver Local and East Liverpool, they play in a district that has a lot of teams that we don't hear of because they're a little bit more south than most of our other YSN teams. So they play a lot of teams in these district tournaments that you're like, who the heck is that?
Yeah, God, I mean, congratulations on them, and the travel that's required for some of these sectional games is absolutely incredible. All right, moving on here, you're going to go Madison. They're going to get a win over Jefferson here, 6-5. Berkshire goes 8-1 over Grand Valley. Struthers goes 7-6 over Girard. Columbiana 10-0 over Conneaut. Salem, Quakers strike over Streetsboro there, 5-4. Campbell Memorial is going to lose 13-1 to Cardinal Mooney. Youngstown East meets Ravenna, doesn't go well, 11-4 the final for that one. And East Palestine, they're going to go 5-4 over Brookfield as we head on over to this crazy playoff softball side of things where some of the best were meeting. And Champion gets a 12-2 win over Waterloo.
I think that's still baseball.
Is that baseball?
Baseball is one more.
Yeah, you're right. There's okay. So 12-2, that's still baseball. PV is going to fall to United 6-2. This is baseball. Newton Falls goes 10-8 over Mineral Ridge, and Badger 2-0 over Western Reserve. Yeah, playoff softball, one line. Because there ain't many teams left here in these playoff games.
This was district semifinals in softball.
And we're going to start off with Austintown Fitch going 11-0 over Madison. Yeah.
No hitter for Sydney Watts. You know, she just kind of did her thing. And Fitch took care of that first district semifinal.
Yeah, Watts is the real deal out there. You got Chalker going 10-0 over Southern Local. Matthews 3-0 over Springfield.
Tough one
and
for Springfield.
Their season's gonna end here as well. To a very good North Canton Hoover team, 5-3, the final in that one.
This game was nuts. I was there. Ty was calling the game. I was taking pictures, and it went 10 innings. In the eighth inning, Hoban had 2 on with nobody out. And Sam, it was one of the I felt so bad because it happens. It's youth sports. Someone had a brain fart. I don't know if it was like the hitter that missed a sign or the runners that missed a sign, but either it was supposed to be a bunt and the runners knew it, but the batter didn't, or it was not supposed to be a bunt and the runners thought it was. Because this girl for Hoban swung, popped it up in the air, and everybody just took off with nobody out. So it was caught in center field, and then everyone was way too far off the base to get back, and it was a triple play to end the inning for Hoover. I was props to Hoban for the next inning, shutting Hoover down and getting another opportunity, but eventually Hoover scored 2 in the top of the 10th and went on to win that game 5-3. Faith Porter 180 pitches for Hoban in that game.
Unbelievable. Faith Porter, another one of those names that we talked about time after time after time this year.
Gave it all. Gave it all for it, and you can't ask for more than that from a pitcher.
Another one of the names that you heard over and over from this year was Bella O'Brien, and that's McDonald going 10-0 over East Canton. Moving on down here, we're going to go Western Reserve, and they're going to go 17-7 over Mineral Ridge. Mm-hmm. And these were district semifinal games on this Monday.
For Division 1 and 4, so Division 2 and 3 were Tuesday.
As we're going to move over to Tuesday, we'll start here with on the baseball side of things. We had a regular baseball game happening here as Canfield and Lakeview meet up one final time here, and Canfield gets a nice tune-up before they get into their games. 6-4, Canfield's going to win that one.
They thought it was one final time, and then they both won in the tournament. They were like, hey, you know what? Let's meet each other up again. So they do meet later on in the week, too.
Boardman and Nordonia. It's Nordonia 4-0 in this one on the baseball side of things. Liberty and Cardinal. Holy smoke. Listen, folks, we talked to you about why we don't cover some of these sectional games. This might be a case in point right here. 30 hot ones get scored in this one. Cardinal comes down there. The Huskies take a bite out of Liberty. The game below that, not much better. Heartland Christian's going to give them a 22 spot over Sebring. Twinsburg and Lakeside, 16-1, the final in that one. Getting into some more competitive games here as East Liverpool and Indian Valley. It's Indian Valley going to come away with this one 4-2. Latonia and Southern Local, 16-0 as the Southern Indians going to win that one. And Wyndham and Lowellville playing, it looks like a football game out there.
Offense there.
18-14. These guys were swinging power bats in that game, and Lowellville, the Rockets, going to fly up to a victory. And we're going to get into playoff softball for real this time.
For real. District semifinals in Division 2 and 3 in this Tuesday.
You got Canfield going 9-0 over Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. Champion and Wycliffe. It's Champion 15, Wycliffe 0. And Anthony.
We talked about Gabby Gradishar's perfect game and how awesome it was in the round before when Champion played Berkshire, and this was so cool. And Gabby Gradishar just liked the feeling a little bit too much, and she went through a perfect game against Wycliffe in the district semis too. So 2 rounds, she didn't give up a single base runner, didn't give up a hit. It was just like, boom, get out of my way. Nice.
And we were talking about this a little bit before the show, and baseball is going to be very tough as we're coming up upon all-star games. We're coming upon postseason awards. Softball may be the toughest. I don't know how easy it's been for the network in years past, but this is going to have to be ranking up there because softball postseason awards, softball all-star spots are going to be heavily, heavily contested. We have some of the best pitchers, I believe, in the country.
People are going to be like, well, all-star spots, you have one for every team. How contested are you going to be? There are a lot of these teams that have like 3 or 4 players that could be on an all-star roster. And initially, you have to pick one. Now, I know there are some teams down the line, teams, either have a player that can't do it or can't show up. So you get maybe a second or a third up from one team. But initially, it's just one player per team. We invite one player per team. And I'm trying to take someone like Champion and say, hey, there's one player. I mean, obviously, you know who we're going with, but everyone, there's a lot of other people on that roster that deserve to be there too. I mean, like Bella Meyer, who is a future YSU Penguin Division I softball player on that team too, hitting over 500. Canfield, like, who do you, I mean, Fitch.
Yeah, I mean, how many times in your lifetime are you going to hit 500 and not be the no-brainer? Like, how many
it's like 630 with 16 home runs and 45 RBI. That usually will do it.
Yeah, absolutely incredible there. Moving right along here, we're going to go Marlington. Marlington goes 5-3 over West Branch. Poland 10-3 over Brookfield, which set up a huge one for later in the week. And as we go down these scores, we'll talk about that one. Aurora and Ursuline, this was a game I actually got a chance to call. And shout out to the Green Men. They played a good game. They really did. I feel bad for Ursuline because this was a game that, you talked about brain farts earlier in the show. That's what came up and got Ursuline. Ursuline had a young lady in the circle that, 16 or I'm sorry, like 12 strikeouts or some crazy number like that. And unfortunately she did a lot, but Aurora was getting the bats on the balls as well. And every time they got a hit, something went wrong. Go back and watch the replay because I promise you the weirdest play you'll ever see in your life in that game. So you have a runner on first and Ursuline's at bat. The plate umpire loses track of the count.
Oh no.
He has a count of 2-2. Or he has a count of 2-2. The count was really 2-1. So Aurora's pitcher pitches strike 3. He calls strike 3. You're out. She leaves the batter's box confused. The runner on first goes back into the dugout. The first base coach comes out and says, "Hey, I got a different count. What did you have?" The field umpire comes to the home plate umpires. He's like, "Yeah, buddy, I got 1 and 2 as well." So they're like, "All right, come back out. Counts 2-2." They come back out. The batter from Ursuline gets back into the box. Both crowds are going absolutely nuts. Batter gets back on the box, or back in the box. The runner from Ursuline goes to first base. Immediately tries to steal second. She gets thrown out at second. The field umpire then calls her out. Well, then the other umpire says, "We never called the game in play, so she's not out." So they send her back to first.
So wait, she gets steal before the pitch was thrown?
Yes. She gets out. She gets out there. They bring her back to first base. So all this crazy stuff is going out. Ursuline girl gets into the batter's box, gets set up. The pitcher gets set up in the circle. And then the Aurora coach comes out and says, "Hey, that runner at first went back into the dugout before you called dead ball." They meet again, call the runner out at first, and again we go back out, and now Green Aurora comes back out and takes it. And when I tell you, it sounded like we were in an auditorium, and the boo birds were out. The Ursuline faithful were letting them know how that went. And unfortunately for Ursuline, at that point in the game, it was only 2-0. So it was, with the runner on first, you got the tying run at the home plate, but, I don't know. Some other things happened. A couple errors happened in there, and Aurora gets 4 across. And congratulations to them. But my gosh, my first ever playoff softball game, I don't know how many of those I can handle.
Sam, God bless you for calling that with no communication to the umpires. Like, you probably had no idea what the heck was going on, because you have no way to communicate with the umpires and what they're saying. So you're probably sitting there like,
there were probably,
I don't know what to tell you.
There were probably 4 10-second spots, because I would start into a break, and then they'd come back on the field, and I'd have to start again, and then they would leave the field. I'd start the break again. Yeah, it was wild stuff. But Aurora Greenman, they're gonna win that one and end the year for Ursuline. But before I get too long-winded, I know that's hard to believe. Let's welcome our boy Ty Bartell back onto the show. Ty, what's going on?
Not much, man. Not much. It's another week of baseball and softball in the books, and another week to go. A little bit less teams than I would have liked going into it, but that's the nature of the sport too. I'm pretty happy about the teams we have advancing, and I think that a lot of them have a good shot at getting into next week as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you on the spot here, Ty, because you're another one who's got an insider look at this one. I asked Anthony earlier in the show. I'm calling it the game of 2023 coming up tomorrow in that Fitch Canfield game. So say either one of the teams wins that first game. If they decide they're not going to play that 11th inning, both teams go to regionals. It doesn't go the way they want it to. Do you come back and play that last inning of that game?
It becomes interesting, doesn't it? Because I feel like a lot of ideas have been tossed up with this whole thing. Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, you realistically can just say that game's a tie because the records are similar. Both teams undefeated in the AAC. It's only going to come down to one of those two teams winning it. And I think Tommy Watts is the one who suggested it. And I thought that was a perfect idea. I mean, if you want to spare that game or spare the fact of having to even get through that game, call that one a tie. Play the next one. That's for the AAC championship. We'll start in inning number 1, and we're gonna go 7 or more if we need to in this game. Winner of this game wins the conference.
Well, Ty, from what I hear, what they're gonna do on Monday is they're just gonna play the normal game, start of the first inning, play Canfield's home game, and then make some kind of a decision on the continuation of the next game at the next point. Like this, I think both Coach Kernan and Coach Ward want to just get one game under the belt. Like, let's just start in the first inning and get one game over with, not worry about, continuing a game that's tied at 3 in the 10th.
Talk
So
about having that luxury, though, in the conference to be like, all right, we're just going to face Milena Toth and we're going to just face Sydney Watts right before our regional final game. Like, you want to talk about tuning yourself up to like great pitching. Like, talk about that luxury to be able to see that kind of quality of a team right before a regional semifinal.
Ty, you missed it. I did play a little bit of devil's advocate though, because I had to play a little bit both sides of the fence. Because I know a lot of people are saying, well, you don't want to hurt your arms, you don't want to overuse your arms, and I'm thinking, well, this is Sydney Watts and Milena Toth. They go play on travel teams where they're pitching 4, 5, 6 times in a weekend. And you're telling me they can't pitch 9, 10 innings in one day, have a day off, and then be okay for a regional? Devil's advocate a little bit, devil's advocate, Well, but I then backtracked and I absolutely agree. Like, I don't want to see something happen on a meaningless, like, extra game after someone already won the conference. The only thing that could happen is either someone wins it outright or you tie. So I wouldn't want to even mess with it. I'd just say whoever wins the first game, give them the conference. If you both lose in regionals, unfortunately, you can decide to come back and really decide the conference if you really want to.
And I know both arms pretty well too. I think both arms will take that 7-inning tune-up right before a game too. But yeah, I think once you get exceed the 7 innings, once you exceed the 7, and you're talking about getting that extra game in, and who knows how long that could go. Who knows how long the first game's gonna go.
That's what I want to do. I want to say, if you're going to continue the next game, continue it second, because I don't want to see the two pitchers fresh starting in the 10th inning. Because that game could go forever,
It really could. And then you don't know if that second game or technically the first game that I think it's going to be played now tomorrow, if that one's even going to go 7. Who knows if that one doesn't go into extra? Then you're really in a jam. Are you really going to end an extra inning game and go into another?
Can you imagine if this one ends up the same way? We're tied and we're really going to daylight? Like,
I think if that's the case, you just have to call it like a draw. Co-AAC champions at this point. We're not doing this anymore.
I told Anthony earlier in the show that a tie is like when you have to sneeze and somebody says bless you and you can't get that sneeze out. So, for the girls' sake, I hope that there is a definitive winner tomorrow in that game. But the Shakespearean person in me who loves drama, I hope this thing goes to a tie. We got to play this thing all the way to July. I don't care. I love it. It's big-time softball. Bring it on.
These two teams like coming back in the middle of like summer vacation to like get this game.
A tie is like having a romantic dinner by yourself.
All right, let's pop off some of the rest of these scores because we got a lot of them to get through this week. Lakeview and Columbiana, that's a tight one right there as 7.
Big upset.
Yeah, 7-6 right there. Lakeview going to Lakeview's played upset all year, so why don't the softball girls get involved as well?
There were people that had Champion versus Columbiana kind of penciled in as a championship game in this district, and I think Lakeview was raising their hand like, hold up, we just beat Stowe last week. Don't forget about us. We're here. We only lost the South Range 4-1. Like, we can compete. And they proved it. They jumped ahead of Columbiana early. Columbiana came back, tied the game up in the 7th. And then top of the 8th, Mrs. Do Everything for Lakeview and Maggie Pavlansky comes up with the game-winning RBI. So Lakeview is just kind of like,
talk about the mental side of the game and the mentality for someone like a Maggie Pavlansky after the Bulldogs take that kind of punch in the 7th inning to not be depleted, to still come through in the clutch big time like that, retake the lead and swing momentum right back into the Bulldogs' face.
That's why, I mean, she's one of the best athletes that have come through Lakeview girls sports that I've definitely seen since YSN, and it's something else.
Have any of you watched Kennedy Lewis from Southern Local? They lost to Chalker in the district semifinals. Kennedy ended up with a .525 batting average. Slugging percentage is .899. Her OPS is 145. She is their shortstop.
Man, that's just it's why that we keep saying that the talent pool in softball is so unbelievably real. There are still those teams like Southern who were kind of middle of the pack in the line of teams in the area, but you're going to find a really, really good player on their roster.
And I mean, with the talent of like Columbiana and what United was doing too, it can sometimes overshadow some of these teams. But I mean, batting 525 against those kind of teams too on a season. Anytime you're batting over 500, I don't care what team you play for. That's pretty impressive.
That means you break that whole baseball, softball cliche. Well, you fail more than you succeed. They're like, hold my drink, hold on. I succeed more than I fail. Gatorade. Powerade.
All right, moving along to a couple more here. You got Field getting a win over Howland, 7-3. And Pymatuning Valley and South Range, they meet up 17-0. This one is all Raiders in this one. And, I think a lot of people are going to look at that score and think to themselves like, man, Pymatuning Valley was overranked or whatever like that. No, South Range is just good. Yeah, they're just really, really good.
It was a mixture, Sam. I was there. I think it had a lot to do with Pymatuning Valley did not see that level of softball consistently this year, and they were kind of shell-shocked by it. And South Range is that good. I mean, Julie Stakowicz struck out everybody but one hitter in that game. So it went 5. She had 14 strikeouts, and she had a couple of home runs too. So I mean,
Raiders know the importance of grabbing a lead early in playoff softball and adding on after that too.
Yeah, it's as much a mental game as it is a physical one, that's for sure. Heading in here into Wednesday. Wednesday, we've got Struthers and Hubbard meeting. Hubbard coming out on top here, 3-2. West Branch and Salem, 5-1. The final in that one. Ravenna and Canfield. Canfield back to the winning ways, or sticking on the winning ways, I guess a better way to put it. 10-0 there. Edgewood and Poland, 7-6, and this was a game that I didn't get to call, but I did get to see. And holy smokes, did these guys go back and forth? One run, the separator there, and that game was as close as the score looked. Those guys, took turns. One inning, Poland got 1 run, and 1 inning, Edgewood got 0. And guess what? That was the final factor in that one.
That sets up a Poland versus Canfield district semifinal this week. That'll be fun.
Battle of 224.
And I'll tell you what, this one right here, I no offense to Ursula, I'm going to call this one the upset of the tournament. Now, I understand that Ursuline, so far, I understand Ursuline beat Geneva early in the year, but Geneva didn't lose after that. Geneva went on to beat some very, very good teams. I wasn't so surprised that Ursuline won this game. I was more surprised that 1-0 was the final. Both of these teams have bats that really could put up some numbers. Ursuline just figured it out on the mound.
Talk about sweating out too for the Irish.
Carilla can really, really bring it on the mound, and he did that for sure.
I've seen that kid pitch too, and I mean, he is a lefty specialist. I mean, you want to talk about painting corners? Like, I mean, it's his job. You think the dude's been a painter his whole life? He just
Michelangelo.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely amazing. I'm not surprised that a 1-0 game, it was him that was on the mound for the Irish. But boy, oh boy, did Ursuline have to sweat this one out too. That was a close one all the way.
And that was one where Ursuline had to go on the road too. It was 6 versus 5 in the seedings.
And what a game. What a game. That's what you want to see, though, at that level of softball in the tournament, too. And, I mean, 1-0 games, I love to see them, too.
Yeah, and a little bit, Geneva, not one of our teams, but I can give you this little snippet about them. Geneva actually leading both Ashtabula and Lake County in RBIs, doubles, and triples.
It didn't do them too much good, though.
No, that's why I expected this one. I expected this one to go high scoring, and when I saw that, I figured somebody just fell asleep at the wheel keeping score.
It's not called the luck of the Eagles or the luck of the Falcons. No, I mean, it's the luck of the Irish, right? So,
you take those numbers and you put them back in the cabinet. That's what you do.
Moving on, some more baseball here. You got Field getting a 7-2 win over Niles. Fort Fry, we were just talking about this. Edison always plays the teams I've never heard of. They're gonna get a win over Edison 7-2.
It took me a long time to know who Fort Fry was, but I do know them now because they've popped up in our football state runs. They've come in basketball a little bit, and now we know who.
Good athletic programs down there, no doubt.
For sure.
Lakeview and Cardinal. Cardinal coming off of a 30-run win in the first round, and they're going to fall to Lakeview, only getting 2 as they used all their offense in the first game.
Scoring 2 the next day.
That's a tough one. But again, against Lakeview, not really surprised. Lakeview, very, very good. Cardinal, Cardinal's got a Division I kid on the mound for them as well, kid by the name of Jake Bean, who's going to be pitching for Kent State next year. So a pretty good matchup for Lakeview as well. So for them to be able to get 5 on him that's something to be said.
The Bulldog Buzzsaw gets someone else again. I feel like they're that Johnny Cash song. Sooner or later, the Lakeview is going to cut you down because, they're coming after everybody and anyone that comes on their front step. They're getting taken down with ease.
Kirtland and Columbiana. This one is Kirtland 6-3 over Columbiana. Kirtland coming off of a CVC championship year, and Columbiana, another one of these ones. Kirtland wasn't tremendously great defensively all year, and Columbiana seemingly scored 25 when they got off the bus. So when I saw this one, I thought a lot more scoring going to happen in this one, but Kirtland's going to go out on top 6-3 over Columbiana.
Kirtland is just not kind to Ysn schools.
Garrettsville Garfield is going to go 4-2 over Cardinal Mooney.
This is impressive. I thought Garfield, they were a 5 seed, but Mooney, you think about the schedule they've played and the teams that they've been able to get a couple of wins against. I thought Mooney was going to go on the road and get Garfield, but man, the G-men, a great performance there, backing up their 5 seed and did not fall to the upset. So.
You got to feel like for a lot of those younger players on Mooney's team too, it's a point to just look to be consistent for the next coming years. Because they had some really high points where it's like Mooney looked like the team to beat on the network, and then they had their low points as well, where that offense kind of showed inconsistencies throughout the season. You didn't know how many runs they were going to spot, but there's a lot of bright spots on that Cardinal Mooney offense. I'm excited to see how they're going to continue to develop.
Speaking of a lot of bright spots on offense, you're going to go South Range and East Palestine, and this one is going to go 24 bright spots, 24-0. They're going to get the win there. Moving along here, Jackson Milton is going to fall to champion 7-5. United.
Champion going and beating Jackson Milton, who has a win against LeBray this year, won the MVAC Scarlet tier, felt really good in this tournament, and Champion just comes and knocks him out, and now Champion's going to have a swing at South Range this week.
No, what a matchup that's going to be as well, too. The Flashes, you got to give them credit where credit's due. They're getting on a hot streak at the right time, and this is going to be an interesting matchup, I think, between the Raiders and Flashes here.
United's going to go 4-1 over Crestview. This was another one of the games that was really interesting to me. This was LeBray and Newton Falls. I think Newton Falls had LeBray sweating. I think LeBray expected to win this game by a lot more than just one run, and Newton Falls was saying, "Hey, not so fast there, guy."
United was another upset. Crestview was the home team in that one. United came in with their really good pitching staff as the 14th seed and knocked off the Rebels. So congratulations to United getting that big win.
That's why you love baseball, man. And baseball and softball, sometimes the seeds just really don't matter. Whoever's on the mound, it can be their day, any day. Same thing with the circle.
The game doesn't know who's supposed to win. That's it.
Exactly.
All right, heading over here into the softball side of things, you got Matthews going 11-1 over McDonald.
Matthews is a softball team that knows how to win districts. This is their 3rd in a row, and they've been doing it for a long time, too. They won districts from 2010 all the way to now, and I think they just came in with this game. They just were ready. They're a young team. They don't have a lot of experience on the roster, but their program is experienced, and that means something. They came in and they hit Bella O'Brien really well, and they shocked McDonald out of this game.
They all just play like they play older than they actually are too, and that's exactly what it looks like from the Stangs. I'm very impressed with their style of play.
Chalker and Western Reserve. Chalker going to get the best of Western Reserve in this one. Close game here, 5-4. As Western Reserve Blue Devils going to fall.
That did it for us in Division 4, unfortunately. We had 2 chances, and some non-YSN teams came to the party. We're ready for it, and congratulations to Chalker and Matthews, but a heartbreaker for us in Division 4.
What wasn't a heartbreaker, though, was when them Fitch girls took on the Cardinals from Mentor, and Fitch is going to go 2-0 over the big, bad Lake Cardinal Mentor.
And I tell you what, though, give the Mentor Cardinals credit because they came into the second matchup of the season with Fitch prepared. First time around they played on March 31st. It was Mentor's first game of the season. Fitch got the better of them 11-1, but Kristen Dems looked amazing in the circle against the Falcon offense. She was keeping them off balance. But once again, it was Sydney Watts that came up in big moments. 20 strikeouts in a game, too. That's going to put her somewhere on the record list. It doesn't put her at the top. I think 21 is a single game record, but she's still going to be
you can't beat it. You can't, well, unless you extra innings.
Like, yeah.
21's the max.
Or you could get a strikeout, too, and not a throw out to first, too, if there's a fastball. There's a case of that. But 20 strikeouts in a game, too. It was her that locked it down. Fitch got just enough offense in this one. And Falcons win 2-0.
It was a off the bench player too. They got the RBI in that big inning for
Lily Stevens too. Lily Stevens gets the call too, and Coach Ward told me after the game too. You know, it was just something that told him Lily Stevens he was going to pinch hit in that case. He didn't know who it was going to be, and then he just Lily Stevens, and boy oh boy, what a pick that was.
Good. I texted you this after that game, and I want you to tell me how much of a factor you think it was. Fitch really, since that Canfield game that was tied at 3 in the 10th, from that point until Mentor, they didn't see a lot of high quality live pitching. And then all of a sudden, here comes Mentor with a pretty good pitcher, but not better than the ones they've seen on their schedule. And their offense looked a little rusty. Do you think that had anything to do with it, or do you think it was all Mentor having a good game plan and pitching a really good game?
I think there could have been a little bit of a combination of both, right? But I think really honestly, Kristen Dems looked really good in the circle. And there was cases where the Falcons were getting really hard liners, but it was right at like Mentor infielders. And you give Izzy Cood a lot of credit on the second base side, second baseman for the Cardinals. She was, bat to leather, like all the time, every time, quick reactions to making some phenomenal throws. They were getting Ayla Ray out by steps. So, I'm talking great defense behind Kristen Dems. And Ayla Ray usually doesn't get beaten out on infield hits like that, too. So they were getting Ayla Ray out on infield attempts, too, to first. It was incredible.
Yeah, another that set up for the district championship. Then I believe, right?
That was the district championship.
That was the district championship.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Another district championship for Fitch there.
Two in 2 years now. Yes.
All right, moving along here, we're going to get into Thursday's game, and we're going from Fitch in the circle to Fitch on the mound. It's Austintown Fitch 2-1 over the Comets of Solon here in this baseball playoff.
Mason Petridis had a big-time game once again. That young man just knows how to deal. Big-time strikeout production and a huge win for the Falcons.
Since Fitch had a bye, they'll probably be able to just throw Petridis again in their district semifinal, which is going to be big for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And young man's getting some great experience too. And he's the type of guy you want to lean your team on too. Definitely on the mound.
Lots of quality baseball happening right here as another one here. Louisville 5-1 over Uniontown Lake. And this was one that I think a lot of people were thinking that Louisville was going to get tested because Uniontown Lake's the real deal Holyfield.
They tested and they aced it. So
they passed it. That's what they do. Student athletes. They got the student part right. Archbishop Hoban, they're going to go 1-0 in the second game of the year against Ellett.
Ellett was thinking upset. This is a seed-wise, this was a mismatch. But you saw, if you go into the Division I district tournament, you look at these districts, even the ones that Ysn wasn't a part of, there were a ton of big upsets in Division I, especially Aurora Alliance Baseball, who was a 1 seed. They're out. They're done. They got beat in the sectional final. So a lot of upsets in Division I baseball.
We were talking about it. There's a lot more powerhouse kind of teams in the softball side of things, but there's a lot of parity across baseball right now. There's a lot of quality teams, yeah, and anyone can really beat anyone. It feels like any given night. Seeding doesn't matter, and I think that's what's making these this upcoming district tourneys so exciting.
We say that every year in Division I time, no matter what the sport is. We're saying, oh, this is the one division where this 17 seed is really a very good team that can come up and beat a 5 seed whenever they want. So baseball is no different.
I mean, hot streaks can happen between any pitching staff at any given time, too. So it really takes is for a couple arms to get really hot on a mound. You get enough offense, you can make quite a run.
All right, here we're going to go to Warren JFK. They're going to get a 12-0 win over Southern Local. Bristol and Lisbon is 10-3. Bristol coming out on top there. Springfield goes 16-6 over Badger. Heartland Christian 10-3 over Maplewood. St. John and Wellsville, it's all Heralds here in this one, 18-5. Lowellville goes 5-7. They're going to lose to Matthews in this one. McDonald 6-5 over East Canton, and United and West Branch, it's all Warriors 12-0. Heading over here to the softball side of things, Canfield 7-1 over Field.
Yeah, this one, Field scored one lone run in the bottom of the seventh, but it was decided pretty dang early that Canfield was going to be the winner of this game. They're starting to find a little bit of power in their 3 district games so far. They've had 3 home runs. Melena Toth hit one in the sectional final in the district semis, and then in this game, Leah Figueroa hit one over the wall. So Canfield, although still known more for their speed, starting to find a little bit of pop in that bat, which will make their lineup even more dangerous going into regionals.
And here's one I'm sure a lot of people were paying attention to here. Champion and Lakeview, 2-0 the final in that one. And that one kind of ended the way I thought it would. Not saying that Lakeview didn't have a chance, but I knew it was going to be a low-scoring affair.
I thought if Lakeview was going to win this game, they were going to have to score. You know, I honestly, I did not see Lakeview shutting down this champion lineup the way that they did. Props to Avery Bacon for pitching this game extremely well for the Bulldogs, holding champion to just 2 runs, and it was in 1 inning on 1 hit. It was Abigail Metters that came up with the 2 RBIs in the 1 inning. They kind of gave champion the 2-0 win, but man, I was really impressed with their pitching staff, especially, you know, Columbiana scored 7 on them. I was coming in thinking, like, if Lakeview's going to win, they're going to have to find a way to score against Gabby Gratishar. And unfortunately, they didn't, but they really pitched well in this game. Gratishar was 1 out away from 3 consecutive perfect games in the districts. She had 2 outs in the 7th with a perfect game going. Freshman catcher Max Stowe is the one that ended that whole conversation, but still gets to win with 14 strikeouts on the day for Gratishar in this district championship.
Yeah, unbelievable. Moving on here to a game that kind of surprised me because I'll be honest with you, I thought South Range was going to take this one pretty handily. No, not the case. No, Poland comes up and they're ready to play.
They had to deal with some serious adversity. Poland jumped out 3-0 before anyone could blink. Mary Brandt and Katie McDonald go back-to-back jacks. Poland's up 3-0 before South Range even gets a bat in their hand. South Range eventually chips away, gets it tied up, and then guess what? Mary Brandt comes back up to the plate, hits another home run, puts Poland up 5-3, but South Range, again, chipping away. They didn't score it all at once. They just came back, tied up at 5, and then bottom of the 7th, here comes Gretchen Bartels, the hero of last year's district championship game, if you remember. Puts on the cape again with a walk-off. It scored a single, but it probably would have been a double in a normal atmosphere because it went to the left center gap. But he hits the walk-off base hit, scores the winning run. South Range wins 6-5.
It's like a same story, different year, but it's also the case of playing a team 3 times in a year, too, that you see where it's tough to beat a same team 3 times.
I think Poland proved that first game was an outlier. They got beat up 9-0 at South Range the first time around. Second time it was 8-6. Poland kind of came out. They really fought. South Range won by 2. This time around, same kind of thing. Poland got really close.
Give credit to Mary Brandt. That girl always comes up with big hit after big hit.
4 home runs in 2 district games for Mary Brandt.
Unbelievable.
Crazy stuff there. And McDonald 4, Waterloo 0.
Wrapping up the regular season in the MVAC for McDonald in that game there.
A lot of rainouts in the regular season, no doubt.
You had one game on Friday. I believe it was Ursuline baseball beating South Range 5-2, which was this kind of a tournament tune-up between those 2 teams. And then everything got canceled yesterday with the rain. So that does it for our scores. Sam, do you want to have our special presentation that we've cooked up before this show, before we go to break?
Yeah, let's. So what we're gonna do is we've got a little bit of what we're calling champion moments right here. It's a little softball put together here, and then when we come back, we're gonna very quickly jump into some of the district games that are happening and regional games that are happening, and that's gonna be it for this show. So we'll jump into that video, go into some commercials, and then we're gonna come right back.
Swing and a miss, 20 strikeouts in a ball game for Sydney Watts. What a performance as the Austintown Fitch Falcons are district champions once again as Watts
and fires. That one roped. That's going to get down. Southridge walks it off. Gretchen Bartels. FedEx delivers again. Your 2023 district champions. Swung on and right into the glove of the diving third baseman Vanuncio, and that will do it here in Hubbard. The final score, Canfield 7 and Field 12 strikeouts and looking to put it away. Swing and a miss, and champion is your Division III district champion here in 2023. Champion finding a way to get the redemption going after that upset last year, but they are finally back on top.
Shopping for a vehicle online should be easy and worry-free. Introducing Merge from Greenwood Chevrolet, a completely new way to buy a car that combines the convenience of shopping online with the personal touch and expertise that Greenwood is known for. With Merge, shopping is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Choose a vehicle from our pre-owned inventory, build a deal that fits your needs, and finalize the deal with our online buying team. That's car buying in a new lane. Visit greenwoodchevrolet.com and let us go the extra mile for you.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
All right, we are back here, and we're going to jump right into some of these district and regional matchups. Start on the baseball side, and then we're going to jump right into the softball. So I'll bring those up right now. As we go into Division 4, we're going to start right here in the Springfield bracket. This week, coming up on May 23rd, you're going to have Warren JFK taking on Bristol. That's at 2 o'clock, and I've had my gripes about 2 o'clock games, and I'll save that for tomorrow's show. That's going to be a 2 o'clock game right there. Springfield also going to be taking on Heartland Christian. That's a 5 o'clock game, which is where it should be. That's going to be happening on Tuesday. That one's going to be happening on Tuesday. That's your Division 4 Springfield. Let's head over to Struthers as Hartville Lake Center Christian. So many names for some of these teams. They're going to be taking on St. John High School. That's going to be on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. That one is going to be happening at Scene Park, I believe.
That's why you can do 5 o'clock because you have lights and you can afford to do 5 and 6:30 and all that fun stuff.
Vienna Matthews going to be taking on McDonald, a 3 versus 4 seed. So that's sure to be a very good game right there. And remember, as well.
It's Vienna Matthews, not Vienna sausages.
Baseball looking to get some revenge for the softball team too.
Just to talk about these Division 4 matchups before we hit Division 3. In the Springfield district, I think it's just going to come down to can anyone really compete with JFK the way they've been doing it. I think it's the same thing in JFK and basketball and football in the district. It's who can kind of come up and take their swings against the Eagles, who have put up another season where they go out and play Division 1 teams, Division 2 teams with that independent schedule. So I'm very interested to see this district, especially Springfield, who starting to show their teeth a little bit in that district, in that sectional final with a lot of offense. They're starting to hit the ball pretty well. So can Springfield, if they take care of business and win, can they take some swings at JFK if both those teams are able to advance?
Warren JFK is preparing for the rubber match with Lake Hartville Lake Center. That's one of they played them twice this year. One win to them, one win to Warren JFK. St. John has a tough pull in taking them. So unless they get the upset there, it's going to set up for another big matchup between Warren JFK and Hart. I believe that one actually will be for the regional title, though.
Yeah, you look at the way the regions match up; those two teams wouldn't play each other until the regional championship. So that'd be a heck of a matchup.
What a roll of the dice if that could happen too and fall that way, right? Like, I mean, what a regional matchup that could be.
Yeah, and I can say this because they're not one of YSN's teams. So come on, Heralds. All right, we're going to head over here onto Niles, and it's going to be South Range and Champion. They're going to be meeting on the 22nd. That one's a 1 o'clock game. And they're getting earlier and earlier, folks.
Teams that have won a state championship pretty dang recently in programs. Champion won one in 2017, South Range the year after. So good programs going at it and good programs trying to get back to regionals. I'm excited for that one. Champion versus South Range. Champion already with the upset of Jackson Milton. So can they keep that slipper on and keep playing Cinderella a little bit?
United, the 14 seed taking on the 3 seed, and also at one time number 1 team in the Power 20 in LeBray. This one is going to be a good one here. This is the one where, you you talk about kind of like the trademark win, the wins that when you get, it kind of sets you into motion. They're looking at LeBray. I think that they're thinking to themselves, if we can get past LeBray, we're the real deal, because LeBray is, in fact, the real deal, and they've showed it all year.
And I mean, you got to wonder if those games that LeBray was dropping in the regular season at the end came at the perfect time for them to kind of refocus right before the playoffs.
And they were still kind of skidding. I mean, they had to walk off Newton Falls, which is a team they kind of had their way with in the regular season. So still not playing LeBray style of baseball quite yet. I don't think United wants them to click yet. So United and Newborn, who's going to probably get the start, they're going to try to keep LeBray off balance. United has to feel pretty confident. They beat Crestview split with LeBray. You go and you take your chances. The
question is, are the Vikings continued on a slope right now, or are these bounce back games for them now? We'll have to see what LeBray we get.
Over here in the Division II side of things, it's NDCL and Marlington going to meet up. And then you got Hubbard and West Branch. That one should be a very good game right there, as both of those teams, I think, are teams that are still playing with a chip on their shoulder, because they both won a lot of baseball throughout the year, and I don't think they got very much push from anybody, actually. I mean, we talked about them a little bit on the Power 20, but when they talked about who was going to make noise in the brackets, I didn't hear too many people talking Hubbard. I didn't hear too many people talking West Branch.
Well, they had 2 straight conference games Hubbard did, so they beat Struthers, and that was a close one, 3-2. So I'm really interested to see how that game goes. But did you notice how small the number was for NDCL? Because they have to make the font so tiny for Notre Dame Cathedral Latin to fit on the line. When I was reading that on the show on Friday, I was like, oh my gosh, it is like itty bitty down there.
Get the microscopes out.
Like I'm already blind as a bat, so these numbers are already hard. But then NDCL got even smaller, and I was like, oh man, I am in trouble.
All right, moving over here into the sectional side of things. This one, the Niles bracket. Canfield going to be taking on Poland, and we talked about that one. Big time matchup. Big time baseball.
Doesn't get any better when playing a rival with a lot on the line.
Records out the window. It really doesn't matter, too, especially considering both teams have had such a good year.
And for all of their efforts in beating a very good Geneva team, Ursuline is going to win the prize of playing field, which is not going to be an easy game by any means. So that's going to be a good one right there. 4 versus 6 seed right there.
Okay, I'll turn to your knowledge, Sam. How much better is Field than Geneva? Because it was 5-4, so it's like, are we set? Or is it a big jump between Field and Geneva? You think?
So the thing is with that one is this is where you almost have to go the region they're playing in versus the region they're playing in. Both teams with a ton of wins. There were some people who thought that Geneva's record was kind of pumped up. There are people who would argue that Field's record is a little bit pumped up because they're both so good. I think Ursuline is going to get 2 games of very similar competition back to back.
I have a lot of respect for that Field program, not YSN schools, but I mean, they have a lot of good talent up there in the baseball and softball side of things. And that baseball team, no doubt, will give any team a run for their money.
Pretty close to you up there, Ty.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Portage County's own.
Old Mogador.
Join the party, Field. We're waiting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always room.
Over here on the Canton side, Division I, you got Jackson and Washington, and then Chardon taking on Hoban. Chardon, a state champion from last year, taking on Hoban, who's trying to go state champion all the way around. They're just trying to get one per season now.
And Chardon was the team that beat Hoban, too, and stopped Hoban from repeating as state champions. Hoban, a 2021 state champion. Hoban was trying to repeat last year, and the Hilltoppers thwarted them. And the Hilltoppers thwarted the Louisville Leopards. They thwarted quite a few teams last year. That's going to be a premier matchup.
Yeah, Chardon lives in chaos, and they thrive in it. Nope, sorry, wrong one. These Division I brackets get a little bit wonky.
But that one that you clicked on was the one I was talking about. A lot of big upsets in it, even though it didn't feature a YSN team. You saw a lot of big upsets in that bracket.
Here we go. That's the one we were looking for. So here in Macedonia, the 4th option over here in this Division I, it's Walsh Jesuit, who may be a YSNer sooner than later. They're going to be taking on Austintown Fitch. And Ty, this is a tough one. Austintown Fitch is really going to have to come with their A game because Walsh Jesuit is not new to this, and they are true to this. This is what they do.
And like I said, I've been impressed with Austintown Fitch the same way I've been impressed with Mooney, with a lot of young talent that has really taken big steps as far as development's concerned, and they've matured on the field in front of a lot of people's eyes. But it all comes down to which Fitch team are we going to see offensively too? Are we going to see them be able to be productive and execute the little plays too, the small ball plays when you need to get the bunts, when you need to move runners over, when you need those clutch 2-out hits too? What Fitch team are we going to see? Because they're going to need every bit of the small ball to go their way, every bit of those clutch 2-out hits to go their way. That's a good Warrior program they're going against.
And Petridis is going to have to pitch like an ace. I mean, that's what you have to do in district semifinal games. You have to go out there, pitch like he's been pitching all year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's no better guy on that Fitch team to throw on the mound, though. I mean, that kid's calm, cool, and collected. And for being so young, it's very impressive.
All right, we go to another big matchup right here, and that's Canton, Glen Oak, and Louisville. And I believe this is a repeat matchup as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the Leopards looking to repeat too, looking to go further than they did a year ago. And Louisville seems like they're getting hot at the right time once again, and they're doing it with some great arms on the mound, timely hitting yet again. And it feels like the Leopards, they're looking to repeat, and this is going to be a big-time matchup, though, because Canton Glen Oak is always a good
When you talk about Louisville, Ty, you can't do it without talking about Connor Morley. He leads the team in ERA, leads the team in innings pitched, leads the team in batting average, leads the team in RBIs. He is just so important to that team and so important to that team's success.
DJ and I both got a chance to see him, and I think DJ and I have had conversations about just how amazing this kid can pitch too. And you talk about someone that can paint the outside corners too and just paint the corners. His control is impeccable, but more than that, just the mental aspect of the game. It's nothing to him to go out there in the big moments and just shine, because I mean, it just seems like that's what he's made to do.
Against that Louisville.
Listen, if everybody plays their part, we could be getting another Hoban-Louisville matchup. This one for the regional.
What a game that
And we could get a Fitch-Louisville matchup for the district.
Yeah.
You want to talk about two programs that bring it to Hoban and Louisville? You might need to get a major league ballpark if you want to house all those people that are going to show up. You just need to call it all right.
We're playing in Rubber Duck Stadium. Forget it.
You might need to just call the AA affiliates up and be like, we need all these seats.
So that's going to be it for the baseball side of things. We'll jump into the softball, which is going to be a couple less games because these girls got a week head start.
Yeah, I mean, we're in regionals for softball. I'll pull up the brackets now. Division 4, unfortunately, like we said, we are out of YSN teams, so Division 4. I mean, best of luck to Chalker and Matthews. I hope they represent our area pretty well and prove that, once again, our area of softball is better than everybody else. Hopefully they're able to do that in their Division 4 regionals. But we'll start with Division 3 since we're in Division 3 pretty heavily. And we are in region, I think we're in region 11, which is down here. And this region is just, actually we're in region 9. So this region, you look at the 4 teams that are in Division 3, region 9. I'm not lying when I think it's the best region in softball in the state of Ohio. Across any division. You look at the programs here. Keystone is the winningest softball program in the state of Ohio. They have over 1,000 wins in their softball program, plenty of state championships. They actually went up with Poland when Aaron Gabriel was pitching for Poland back in 2010, 2011, 2012, those years. So yeah, Keystone, they're a pretty prestigious program. They're playing Champion, who has 9 state championships in their program, 6 under Cheryl Weaver, including 3 in a row, 2017, 18, 19. And then you go to the bottom half, you have Rooster Triway, who won state last year, has an ACC and Georgia Tech commit in the circle. And then South Range, who in their own right, this is their 4th straight regional appearance. They've been to the state championship twice since 2016, and they've won 10 districts in the last 13 years. So all these programs are just built to succeed, and they're all playing each other down in Canton on Wednesday. It's going to be a fun regional in Canton on Wednesday.
It's a game of musical chairs, and there's only one seat at the table right now, too, between 4 historic programs.
That's why I think
sign me up for Champion South Range Regional. Let's do this.
That's why whoever wins this regional, they're going to earn it, and they're going to be really prepared for whatever they see at Firestone Stadium.
Yeah, we're getting the matchup on the baseball side. Let's repeat it on the softball.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
All YSN Regional Championship. I'd love it, and that would be a fun one. Those games are going to be at Canton, Willig Park, Willig Softball Complex in Canton. Champion versus Keystone at 2 o'clock. South Range versus Triway at 5. I will be on the call for both of those games on Wednesday. Let's go into Division 2 and see where we stand in the Division 2 statewide tournament bracket, since we're down to the Sweet 16 in the state. And we are in the top of this bracket, Region 5, and it is Canfield going to be taking on Parma Heights Holy Name in the regional semifinals. On the top end of that bracket, it's Marlington versus St. Vincent St. Mary. Those are a little bit more familiar teams than Holy Name. But I will tell you that if Canfield pitches the way that Molina Toth has been all year, they're going to be a really tough out in this region. I know St. V's plays a really tough schedule, but they've been hit and miss. Marlington, they're known in this sport for being a little bit underplaying in the big moments. They lost in the regional semifinals last year. They almost lost the district final twice 2 years ago in the semis and final. Barely were able to pull out 2 very close games against teams that honestly they should have beat by a lot. So I think if Canfield beats Holy Name, who I honestly haven't done enough research on to confidently talk about yet, but I will before Wednesday when we talk about this more in the show. But I think if Canfield and Molina Toth pitches the way she has been all year, I don't see any of these teams beating her, to be honest.
I believe Holy Name and Canfield met at the regional levels in football this year. I believe that was one of the matchups in football this year.
That's
that
great.
does sound familiar. I think so. I think you're right.
Run it back on the diamond.
Run it back. Let's do this. And then we're going to go into Division 1, the one the tie will be at. By the way, that Division 2 regional semifinal for Canfield is going to be Wednesday at 5 o'clock at Nordonia High School. And Tim Corso will be on the call down there for Canfield. So here we go into Division 1. This is going to be the regional here, played at Youngstown State University. And we are going to go, I believe, in the bottom of the bracket down there in Region 1. Fitch is going to be matched up with Berea Mid-Park. And then on the other end of the bracket, you have Hoover versus Walsh, which is just a rivalry. If you don't know, the Federal League, those two teams don't like each other at all. And it's going to be a very highly contested matchup in the second regional semifinal after Fitch plays Berea Mid-Park.
And Hoover, with their prestige, man, just keeps finding ways to win, too, in close ball games. But this Berea Mid-Park team was a team that found ways to win, too. In their game against the Midview Middies, they jumped out ahead 2-0 in the first. Midview was able to get all the way back and tie the game in the fourth, too, after scratching across a run in the second. They tied it up at 2. And then Lauren Fain, 2 outs in the top of the 7th, delivers with a big 2 RBI single for Berea Mid-Park. They gave them a 4-2 lead. Midview got 1 in the bottom of the 7th, but it wasn't enough. It was a 4-3 district win for the Titans. And you look at how Herwarden pitched for the Titans at Berea Mid-Park. 13 strikeouts in that game. Big high strikeout level pitcher too for a Berea Mid-Park. And on top of that, she pitched around 10 hits, giving up only those 3 runs in the game too. So a lot of hits given up, 10 hits, but she didn't let them compile them throughout the game, and she pitched around a lot of big moments in that game as well. 13 strikeouts will help you with that too when you're getting outs at the plate. This will be a fun matchup in a regional semifinal against the Falcons.
And then very interesting, Broadview Heights, who Fitch beat in the semifinals last year, is up in a different region this year, up there in Region 2. So even though they've made regionals for the second straight year in Broadview Heights, they have been moved into a different region. So Fitch will not be seeing them until a state championship if both teams make it there.
The question is, are we getting a rematch in the regional too? Well, how will Hoover fare against Walsh? How will
everyone at Fitch wants that? They want a second chance at Hoover. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what happens.
Walsh Jesuits pitching around adversity too after their pitcher went down with an ACL injury, but give the Warriors credit because they keep finding ways to win, and I mean they're doing it. Next girl up mentality, man.
And you'll look at Walsh versus Hoover, and you look at the Hoover side of things. They won in extras over Hoban 5-3, and they beat Jackson 1-0. Those close games, you can't overvalue the experience it gives you playing in those tight games.
No doubt. And I mean, madness that happened in that Hoban game too. Just craziness how they were able to win, and craziness in the Jackson game as well, pitching a shutout against the Polar Bears that have been unbelievable all season too offensively.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our coverage of the tournament this week. I do want to let you guys know that I believe this is going to be the final show. I know it's the final show for me, as next week I'm going through the D, and I do mean Dallas, so I will not be here for the show next week, as we are going to be down doing some cool stuff with Game Changer, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of teams the following week, but we'll see. So I won't be here next week. We'll see what we got going.
We're going to be getting ready for state championships. So the week after that, softball will be getting ready for those state championships. They will be actually done by Sunday, and baseball would be in the regional. So this is probably going to be the last show of the high school season. We might circle back around and do this for summer ball and the Class B and all the great coverage that we do for Little League softball and baseball. But for the high school season, I'm assuming this is going to be our last show.
Yeah, we'll see. Depending on who makes the state championships, we may have a state championship special of some sort. Just keep your eyes peeled, because your sports happens on your sports network, and that's what we're going to be doing. So that's all I got this week, folks. You guys got anything else from you, Ty? Anything from you, Ann?
Ty, I'll see you tomorrow, bud.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Fitch has beaten a Cardinal in the district championship. The Cardinals have beaten the Falcons in a district championship. Now they're playing each other tomorrow. What's going to happen? It's going to be wild too. But yeah, we look forward to another week of softball. Hopefully we have some teams going to state we're talking about.
Time to collect the hardware. time to collect the hardware. Your sports championships happen on YSN. That's what we're going to change it to, folks.
Your sports championships. Let's go. All right, we'll see you next. Well, actually, we won't see you next week. I'm so used to saying that. We'll see you soon.
YSN thanks you for